Time for some heavy upper pulling work, in line with the usual alternating variations that I employ. This time is the weighted chin-ups. So the previous week I was doing chest supported rows with more sets, more reps, and overall easier to manage in terms of fatigue accumulation. But the way that I was structuring the pairing of the exercises and the relative volume and intensity should probably be slightly revised, because I would like to alternate the heavy pulling work, the higher intensity pulling work, which is the weighted chin-ups, with some more volume stuff for the Nordic curl, which is the other main exercise, the big movement that's high in intensity that I'm performing on this day. So on a day where I'm going to do a heavier intensity pulling movement, is probably the day that I want to get some slightly lower intensity and higher volume on the Nordic curls, which is not what happened this day, because the previous week I was doing the volume work on the chest supported rows day. So what I will be doing from the next time is I will be keeping an extra intensity week workout session for the Nordic curls, just to fall in line with the more sustainable approach to pairing these two exercises in the same session. So in here I was doing 2 challenging sets with 20 extra kilos. So I took them to 5 reps each. The previous week I was doing 5 and 4, and that was a bit of a reintroduction to the weighted chin-ups after a while where the gym didn't have any weights. Because there was an issue, they were trying to fix it, but it took some time. So anyways, I wasn't doing that for a while, so I decided to not go balls to the wall immediately and start a bit lighter than the weight that I was using before I stopped doing them. So 20 kilos it was, and 2 sets of 5, staying close to failure. I think that I had maybe 1 rep in reserve on both sets. And I think that as a quantitative assessment is pretty fair. It doesn't really take into consideration the quality of the reps. So I probably had 1 rep in reserve on the first set, which was slightly less ugly than the one that I would have had in the second set. I think it's still possible to do 2 heavy sets and still keep them at the same rep range and still being somewhat equally close to failure on both. The last one on the second one is probably going to look way uglier, and that's about how I try to stay in a state of autoregulation while staying as close to failure as I can. And sometimes I get 2 sets with very close reps to each other, which is not bad. I don't think it's bad, and it is kind of what happens on the Nordic curls in here. I'm actually using the first working set as sort of a springboard towards getting high intensity in the second one, because I know that the Nordic curl is potentially maybe more subject to injury because of the extreme leverages that one goes through. So I am kind of employing a more gradual approach to intensity, where I'm doing 4 reps at the moment in the first set. And then if it's an intensity day, the way that I call them, I'm going for a heavier, higher repetition set in the next one. So basically the first working set is priming me to getting into those extreme ranges of motions where the tension is on a very unforgiving and disadvantageous side of the leverage. And this way I am able to get the muscles to fire properly and minimize the risk of injury, which is something that I have dealt with the previous year, especially when I was going very heavy very soon and trying to maintain that for a bunch of sets. In here, I've learned that if I want to train every day and kind of move the entire body on a daily basis, I need to be careful and smart in the way that I plan and approach these kind of exercises. And it goes in a similar way for the weighted pull-ups. Not as much, I would say, because the back is probably the muscle group that allows me to get a bit more punishment without really suffering possibly very serious consequences. The elbow health is something that I should always pay attention to, but it is not something that I need to be very careful and cautious with, as it is with the Nordic curls and the knee. So yeah, injury prevention is paramount, as it should be always, but sometimes it cannot be avoided. So in that case, injury mitigation is probably the next best thing. And that really leads me into talking about the elbow work that I was doing at the end of the session. So I was pairing some hammer curls with the Nordic curls because the setup is very convenient, and then I was doing an extra set as a finisher on the cable, which is going to provide some extra blood flow in there and hopefully help me keeping all the joints nice and oiled up.